All righty. Well, today we have on Mr. Jay Holderfield. He's an assistant principal at Carroll County High School, and he's also the CTE director. So, Mr. Holderfield, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well. I think I can speak for both me and Ethan when I say it's an honor to speak with you today.
Well, I appreciate that, fellas. We've been trying to do this for a while, so it's nice to finally sit down and actually get to chat and hang out a little bit. So.
I'm excited. I've been looking forward to it.
Yep.
So, we always start the same way. Where did you grow up?
Where did I grow up? All right, so I grew up. I'm a Carroll County guy. I grew up on the Galax end of the county. I went to school all through Carroll County. Graduated in 2003 from Carroll County High School. Spent all but the few years I went to Virginia Tech in Carroll County, and still here.
Came back.
So, did you go to Glayville Elementary School?
I went to Glayville Elementary.
Okay.
Yeah. Which kind of near and dear to my heart. My grandma was a longtime teacher at Glayville Elementary School. She had retired by the time I got there, but my dad, my uncle, all my cousins, everybody went through Glayville Elementary School. And
was that kindergarten through fifth grade at the
kindergarten through fifth grade at the time, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And what did your parents do for work?
My mom's, she's a stay-at-home mom, and she does the pre-K over at the Baptist Church in Galax. She does the pre-K there, and my dad is in food sales. So, yeah.
I was looking around your room for a minute before we started the interview, and I noticed that there was a contract on the wall there, and it said Holderfield. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's my grandma's teaching contract from late 1960s when she passed in 2012. And when we were cleaning out, going through the things, I stumbled upon that contract, and I thought that was it's kind of just a reminder of kind of where I come from. Right. My grandma was in education her whole life, and that's kind of, well, not kind of, that's what I've chosen for my career path. So it's kind of just a reminder of, the family ties there. So, yeah.
So did you have any brothers and sisters?
I have a brother and a sister, both younger. My sister's 4 years younger than I am, and my brother's he's 10 years younger than I am. So that's almost a whole different, that's almost a whole lifetime. Yeah.
Did you notice that age gap a lot more when you were younger compared to now? Or is that still there?
So interesting enough, so there's 10 years in between us. So, by the time I was graduating and moving out, he was just, second or third grade. So, but interesting enough, he was here when I came back to teach at Carroll County. He was a student here.
Oh wow!
So that was pretty cool. I think it was his junior and senior year. He was here, so that was pretty neat. To come back here.
Did you teach him?
No, I didn't. No, they. I guess it was on purpose, right? The whole don't want to teach your family kind of
dynamic,
thing.
yes.
Yeah. But he would come by and see me, and there, during the day, which was pretty neat.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We've been asking this the past few times we've interviewed someone. What's your earliest memory?
My earliest memory. Oh wow. Just in general?
In general, we've found a lot of people's just really snapshots of the past, not really full memories, but the farthest you can remember.
We've had positive and negative answers, so that's interesting.
So my earliest memory, believe it or not, is I can remember going to Disney when I was 2, maybe 3 years old. And I don't remember the trip, but I remember we were at... I don't know if it was some kind of like dinosaur themed something, but I can remember this robot dinosaur spitting out flames and being terrified of that. I can't remember anything else about. I've seen pictures of it, as a little kid. I can't remember anything else about the trip but that. So it's kind of random.
Good one, yeah.
I tell my mom that, and she thinks I'm crazy, but that's she has a lot more reasons than that. So
we found that people can really remember pretty far back.
That's
some pretty surprising.
Yeah.
That's true. So we know that you went to Glayville. Did you go to Woodlawn Intermediate?
I did, yeah.
Was that 6 through 9?
It would have been 6th and 7th grade at the time.
And then 8, 9
8 and 9 was at the what's now the middle school.
Right.
And then 10 through 12 here at the high school.
Okay. How was Woodlawn compared to Glayville?
It was just bigger.
Right.
I mean, it's essentially the same. At the time they still had elementary there, so Woodlawn at the time was K through 7, but we never really saw the elementary side of it. The 6th and 7th grade, it was kind of a different wing of the building, almost like our field house main building. But I just remember it being bigger and older.
Yeah, that's true.
It was pretty neat though. It was a neat place at the time.
Was it a strange experience for you to swap buildings because you spent your whole life in Gladeville and then you had to move?
Yeah, it was. It definitely was, and I'm sure you guys experienced it too. You go to the elementary school with the same, the same 25 or 75 kids in your grade, and then here you go to a new school and it's it's hard. Yeah.
I feel like that change from middle school to high school is easy or relatively easy compared to that.
Not too bad.
Elementary to middle, it's just a big difference there.
Yeah.
So then you went to the intermediate school and then on up into the high school.
Yes, sir.
When you got here, did you play any sports?
Yeah, I played basketball. I played football through my sophomore year, but I played basketball all the way through, golf all the way through, and tennis actually all the way through high school. So, yeah.
What was your favorite?
Basketball.
Yeah. Who'd you have? Who was your coach?
John Ayers was my coach.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were Coach Sharp or not.
Was Pat Sharp up here at the time?
He was a teacher at the time. He wasn't coaching anymore.
Okay.
Coach Motley had just gone to Grayson County when I started coming through the high school. So Coach Motley actually took me to a 9th grade summer basketball camp at University of Tennessee.
Really?
And then he got a job at Grayson County and then came back. This would have been my senior year. Was his first year back here at Carroll? Yeah.
I didn't realize he'd left.
He did, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
we both had Coach Sharp, Pat Sharp for cross country.
I had him for 2 years.
Okay.
So that was towards the tail end of his career.
Sure.
I know that he coached basketball. I wasn't sure what years though.
I'm not sure what year he quit coaching basketball or retired from basketball, however you want to say that.
I think it was a good while.
It's been a little while, yeah.
Because he focused on running over the last few years. But.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Were you very academic in high school?
No.
No.
I mean, honestly, yeah. I was middle of the road.
Yeah.
I knew what I needed to do to get decent grades, and I was okay with that.
Yeah.
I was never gonna. Early on, I decided I wasn't the type of student that wanted to strive for a 4.0 or higher or something. And I was okay with that. I did okay.
Yeah.
I didn't wasn't top 10 of the class or even top 50 of the class, but I graduated, so that's something.
Did you work in your high school?
In high school, I did. There was a local music shop that was at the Midway Heights area there as you go towards Galax. It's called Music Solutions.
Okay.
And I worked there in the summer and on the weekend. I also worked with my dad at the time. He was working in Winston-Salem. And I would work with him in the summertime, go down there and help in the warehouse and stuff like that. So,
You mentioned music. We know now that you
play
music and sing.
Musician,
Yes, sir.
Were you always involved in music growing up? When did that start?
My family has always been immersed in music. Grew up, my parents and grandparents were in a gospel quartet. So I can remember running around, grandma was playing the keyboard, mom and dad singing, aunt and my grandpa singing, being there for that. And I had a cousin who's about 6 or 8 years older than I am that really sparked my interest in the guitar. He helped me learn how to play guitar. I was in band until my sophomore year. When they really started switching and focusing on marching band. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. But yeah, music's always been a big part of me and who I am, and
Did you ever consider going into a career that involved music?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I told you I didn't. I joke. I tell people like if someone walked in right now and told me that I could make a living playing music full time and be able to take my family with me and do that, like I would go right now if I could take my family. It's I think every musician has that though. If you can make a living doing it,
right? Why not do it? We had the opportunity to interview Sam Bush a couple months ago.
Yeah, talked a lot about that, and that's what he did.
Sure.
So that was pretty interesting. It's a whole different lifestyle.
Absolutely.
It's very non-traditional. So hearing that he
had to get up and move every few weeks just for gigs and stuff, and it was hard.
And building a family too was really hard for him.
Right.
Well, I think that's the thing, and that's why I said, I would do it if I could take my family. That's because you're gone sometimes months at a time to try and make it.
To who knows where.
To who knows where. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess there's really heavy drawbacks to that.
Definitely.
Was that something that you thought about during your senior year of high school? Did you have a plan for it, or did you always know you were going to school?
I never had a plan to be in, a musician like full time. I mean, I was in bands and, had a high school band, some college bands, and played gigs and, had fun with it. But it was never, I'm going to move to Nashville or I'm going to move to, wherever and give it a shot. It just, I'm kind of a homebody, and so that meant uprooting everything that I'd ever known, and I wasn't ready for that. So.
Was there a certain gig that you remember that you were especially proud of?
We got to, believe it or not, it was after I was, actively like gigging. So y'all know I'm a worship leader or have been at Christ Chapel.
Okay,
part of the worship team at Christ Chapel. But I was a full-time worship leader for a while. Well, I say full-time. I had a full-time job, but I was also a full-time worship leader. And we got to open for some pretty big names in the worship Christian radio at the time. There was a band we got to open up for named December Radio. They're no longer a band. They were local, but they made it. And we got to meet Need to Breathe one time, which I don't know if y'all have heard of them, but they're pretty cool. Pretty good, like a southern rock kind of Christian band. It's pretty awesome. So yeah.
That's exciting.
So when it was during your senior year of high school, did you know what you wanted to do?
No.
Meditation?
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Can you walk us through that process of kind of your experience?
Sure. Yeah. So when I was in high school, kind of going back to the academics thing, I was heavily involved in the drafting program. I actually had Miss Williams as a teacher. And so I did all the skills competitions and did all that stuff through high school, and was actually started school to be an architect.
Really? At Tech?
Started at ETSU. Okay. Got into the program, went toward the school, took my parents out there, we're going to do it, and found out a few weeks before school started they lost funding for the architecture program. So then it was like, what do we do now?
Right.
So ended up going to New River Community College for 2 years. At the time they had it wasn't an architecture program, but it was a drafting program. I'm not sure if they still have it. Did that, and didn't work out for me to get into the architecture program at Tech. At the time, it was the number one, depending on the year, number one or number two architecture program in the country.
Yeah, it's still phenomenal.
Still a great program, and like I said, I wasn't the most academically inclined. I mean, I was good at drafting, good at architecture, but the math and everything else that goes along with it, I just didn't have the grades to get into it. So finished at New River and ended up getting into Tech, just a liberal arts degree at Tech, majored in history, and was fortunate enough to stay and get my one of my master's degrees. Two of them. One of them from Tech in education in sports performance and education.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
And then started teaching shortly after that. So.
Why sports performance?
I was fortunate enough when I was at Tech. I was actually a graduate assistant for the Olympic sports. Yeah. So for essentially everything but football.
Right.
So I was a graduate assistant for basketball, men's, women's basketball, softball, baseball, volleyball, lacrosse, those sports. So that was a fun time.
That is cool.
Yeah, it was really neat.
How'd you stumble into that?
Luck. Man, I had a friend that I graduated with, who ended up getting hired as a football manager when we were in undergrad. He got hired as a football manager. Got hooked up with the other side of it from opposite of football, and ended up lucky enough that when I got my when I was able to stay and get my master's, I was lucky enough to be on a full ride.
Wow.
To stay and to get my master's degree from Tech and work with some pretty cool guys and girls there at Virginia Tech for a while.
So I've heard the master's program at Tech are pretty small.
Yeah, and when I took the the sports performance program there were 20 of us or so in the there wasn't a lot in the program at the time.
What did your daily job duties look like for that? Your assistantship?
So a lot of different stuff. We were my main job and my roommate's main job there was we were in charge of all the equipment.
Okay, yeah.
So everything from jerseys to cleats to bats to gloves, shoes, whatever, we were in charge of all that. Game day setup, practice setup, all that stuff. So we get to do some pretty cool stuff and meet some pretty cool people.
Did you travel with the teams?
We had the option to travel. Some of them, they would take us like to tournaments. So if they made postseason, like we got to go to Greensboro a couple times for the ACC tournament and stuff like that. Yeah. Now my roommate traveled because he was with the football team. He went to every away game. They took him with them because it's, you're talking hundreds of people going on that trip.
That would be cool.
Yeah, he was. If you look at pictures from, I guess it would have been like 06 to 08 of Coach Beamer. Usually the guy standing behind him on the sideline, that was my roommate. He was Coach Beamer's right-hand man there for a while. That's cool. It was pretty neat.
It would be hard to keep up with graduate coursework, missing so much.
It was, the good thing about grad school and college is it's not all day every day.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you had to definitely plan for, if you're working 9 to 5 or whatever it may be. And the good thing was our graduate program, like I worked on campus. So I would go to work, and if I had class at 11:30, I'd just walk to class and then come back to work and finish the day out. I mean, they knew we were students. You're students first. Right. So they worked with us pretty well.
Yeah.
So.
Tech is known for engineering.
Yeah.
And you did the liberal arts program at Tech. I'm going to the College of Liberal Arts. Can you talk about how that's different from other parts of campus or your experience within the college itself?
Believe it or not, it's unless you intentionally go to say engineering section of campus, or like you would almost not ever know it was like they don't commingle. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, you'll have some courses freshman courses and stuff that everybody takes, but unless you have a class in one of those engineering halls or something like that, it's at the time, and I don't know now, it may be different, but all of my classes were on a completely different section of campus than the engineering courses, or so.
And I heard it's relatively small too. The liberal arts school at Tech.
Yeah, I got my bachelor's in history. I mean, the biggest class I had was probably 35 students.
That's not bad.
Which for a school with 35,000, 30,000. I mean, it's
more people than our county.
Where I'm getting my associates through Whitfield.
Yeah.
I'll go in as an academic junior.
Okay.
I'm studying public administration, and my classes they sit up to like 15, 20 people.
Yeah.
So really small.
Yeah.
So sometimes as small as it is here. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. I had a couple of those. You'll have a couple of those. Like I say, those classes everybody's got to take, or most people, that'll be several hundred people. A lot of the math classes when I went through, a lot of math classes were bigger.
What Mr. Sumner told us, they changed it up with the math. They just stick everyone in like a room and they give them a computer, and that's it. You don't have a professor anymore.
Yeah, that was changing as I went through Tech.
That's kind of miserable.
So it was not great, especially I think I said before, like math was not my. Like I can do numbers, but when you start putting letters with numbers and stuff, like I'm out. They had a building called the Math Emporium.
Yeah,
at the
that's
time.
what he called it, Math Emporium.
It was miserable. Yeah, it was awful, especially for someone who's not good at math, because you had to teach yourself.
It seems like a strange way to do it.
It was not great. I mean, they did have graduate assistants,
right?
But it's
harder.
It's hard. Yeah.
Tech is only. From the outer edges of Carroll County, about 25 minutes away from Carroll. From Tech to the county line, but it's almost a ward away culturally.
Yeah.
Was that a big shock for you moving away there?
Absolutely. And for me, Tech, part of the draw was it was close to home. I think I told you guys, like I'm a homebody,
It's only one county over, but it's...
an hour 15 from where I lived, And so it was far enough to where I wasn't home, but I could still come home. But I mean, it's you cross over into Blacksburg and step on that campus, and you are in a different world. Yeah. And it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, as someone from Southwest Virginia who grew up in, like, this is where I'm from, this is where I've chosen to raise my family, all of that, like, it's not a bad thing to experience other people and other cultures and, you know.
Tech has a big foreign exchange student population. Was that like that when you were there?
It was growing.
Yeah.
It was definitely large. I think that's around the time it really started to change. They started to really focus on that program, and more students from other countries and across the world come in, which was also good. You know, I mean, little me from Carroll County, Virginia, meet somebody from
Get exposed to a lot.
literally the other side of the world.
Yeah.
You know, without tech, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So, yeah.
Did you get much exposure to the agricultural side of things? Because tech is world renowned for that as well.
I did. It's hard not to at tech.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard not to be exposed to the ag side of things. And I had some friends who were heavily involved in the agriculture program, and you know, got their associates and their bachelors, and and farming's also always been a part of my life and my family too. It's just not, I didn't choose to study it in college. So, but yeah, it's hard not to be exposed to agriculture when you're at tech.
Did you dorm at tech?
I did not, because I transferred in.
Right.
Yeah, so I lived off campus the whole time I was there. Okay. So
how was that? Did you feel kind of excluded from everything?
Oh, it was great. I didn't want to live on campus.
Yeah.
Like the thought of living in a 12-story, essentially apartment building.
Hotel.
So small. I don't want to do that. Like that does not sound like fun to me.
Where did you live? What kind of house?
I lived at Terrace View.
Okay.
Which is an apartment complex. It's still there. 2 different times actually lived at Terrace View, or 2 different apartments at Terrace View, which is probably 2 miles off campus, maybe.
You took your car
walk.
That rode the BT, the Blacksburg Transit.
Yep.
There were bus stops right there in the middle of it may be more than 2 miles. It's been a while, but rode the BT to campus and dropped you off wherever you needed to be. So, yeah.
How did food work? Did you eat at D2? Did you make your own meals?
No, had the meal plan at Tech, yeah. So D2, and then I don't know what all the other. I don't remember the names of all. West End, I guess, was one of the places, and
we just know D2 because when we go there for field trips, they take.
That's where the cafeteria, right? That's where they take you.
Dietrich,
yeah.
I think that's the full name.
Yeah. So they even then, I don't know about now, but back then Tech was pretty well known for having some pretty good food.
It still
is.
In the top 5. In
it's fantastic.
The pamphlets they give out says top 2. Makes it
top
second.
2. And they're not kidding.
No,
when I graduated, I lost weight just because I wasn't eating at Tech anymore. Like, you know.
We went with the business classes here a few months ago.
Yeah.
And the students up there said she wished she could stay in that year just for the food.
Yeah.
It's just because they make it for you. And it's just like what you get in a restaurant. It's 3 times a day, or really as much as you want.
Yeah.
Till your meal card runs out.
Yeah. Well, she said that's what she's going to miss the most was the food. So
yeah, absolutely.
Looking forward to that. While you were at New River, did you work as well?
Yeah, I did. So I started. My first college job was at a place called Echo Star, which was disguised for Dish Network.
Okay.
So it was a Dish Network call center. So essentially for 8 hours a day, I took phone calls from angry Dish Network customers. It was the worst job I ever had. Like it was miserable. You got yelled at all day long. There was nothing I could do about it. I stayed there for about maybe 6 months.
Wow.
And then got a job. I actually worked at the Christiansburg Lowe's Hardware there.
Yeah.
And stayed there for several years. Yeah.
When you were a student at New River, did you move and get an apartment nearby, or did you just...
So my first year at New River, I lived at home, and the second year when I was finishing up is when we moved to Blacksburg.
Okay.
I had some friends from high school that were getting an apartment, so we got an apartment in Blacksburg, and the goal was to go to Tech, and so it just seemed like the logical step to go ahead and move. And, if it worked out, I was already there.
Did you have to retake a lot of classes at Tech? Because drafting is pretty separate from history.
I did have to take, all of the core classes transferred, your English and your histories and all that stuff. But I didn't necessarily have to start over, but the drafting classes definitely didn't transfer over. But
was dual enrollment here at the high school at the time?
Not like it is now. Yeah, not like it is now.
Mr. King said they had biology and English, and that was it.
Yeah, that's
when he was here, at least.
Yeah, biology and English is probably about it when I came through too. That's something that really in the last 10 years has become a thing.
We've exploded. Even classes that weren't doing normal classes when I was here now are, like drafting.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good thing.
And it changes constantly too, which is good.
Yeah.
It's good. So
Actual growth.
Was living with your friends, did that pan out? Was that what you thought it would be, or is that more of a learning?
We're still friends, if that's what you
Yeah. That was the question, yeah.
So, actually, one of them, we're still really close. He doesn't live here anymore. He lives in Tennessee now, but we talk 2 or 3 times a week. Still keep up with each other. One of the other guys is local here too. Our daughters are close to the same age, so we see each other a lot. Like we're still, we're not close like roommates close, but we still keep up with each other and speak. And then, so the guys from here that I was roommates with worked out. I did room with some guys from Northern Virginia. We're not close anymore. Like we were very different, and that's okay. After we graduated, we kind of went our separate ways. They came to my wedding, and I think that's the last time I talked to a few of them. It's just one of them things.
That's what they said about high school graduations too. That's some of the last times you'll probably see a lot of these people. It's
absolutely
kind of sad.
It is sad. I mean, my graduating class was about the size of your all's, around 250 or so, and we had our 20-year crazy enough reunion last fall, and there were I think 75 people that came. So
I did a running camp at Virginia Tech a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And there were kids from all over, right? Some Nova kids, and we took a bus to the various different places we ran at. And on the way to one of the roads we were running, we saw cows, and the kids from Nova freaked out. They said they had never saw a cow before in their life.
Mm-hmm. And lived in the city their whole life.
Right?
Yeah,
I thought that
Fairfax.
was crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I went to Boys State at Radford.
Uh-huh.
It was the same deal. I was the only kid from Southwest, one of the only kids from Southwest Virginia there. Yeah. And it was in Southwest Virginia, so it was weird being close to home, but all these people were from
You're the odd one out, even though you're close to home.
The one that was different, but everybody out in the area around me was just like me. So it was a strange experience, but it's just really different. Yeah. And you wouldn't think the same state, but it's...
Yeah, and it's funny, like the things you grow up seeing, you just think that's what everybody sees. You know what I mean? Right. Like everybody sees cows on the way home, or like everybody passes 15 churches on the way. You know what I mean?
Right,
but really, it's not. It's not always reality. So, yeah.
You mentioned that you were in bands in college too.
Yeah, I was.
Which bands were you in, if you'd like to talk about that?
Which bands was I in? So I was in a few different bands, mostly cover bands.
Okay.
I was in I guess what you would have called, not what you would call it. It was definitely a punk rock band when I got into college. And then kind of towards the end of college and through college, played in country bands and played a lot of southern rock and country music and stuff like that. But high school / early college, I was definitely in a punk rock band and did that thing. So,
did you ever consider a career in music education?
I did actually. When I decided that I was gonna give education a whirl, I tossed around the idea of music education, but it was just something that I just didn't feel like it was right for me. I can't put my finger on what it was, but it just wasn't me.
Yeah, those jobs are kind of rare too, because
they're very, very
one,
rare.
Maybe 2 per county.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it, and there's a ton of history and math and whatever teachers. So
absolutely, yeah.
So you went and studied history.
Yes, sir.
Did you always like history?
Yeah.
Or is it something?
No, I've always enjoyed history. Growing up, reading about whatever it may be, Civil War, World War II, Industrial Revolution, all that stuff just fascinated me. So when I went to Tech and took classes in the history department, it was second nature to me because I enjoyed it.
Right.
I was never a math guy, right? I didn't enjoy that. But history I enjoyed teaching it. I enjoyed learning about it. Still do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We always ask this question, or I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some people.
Do you like David McCullough? I can't say his last name.
McCullough.
He wrote John Adams. He's wrote a few different history books.
Oh, yeah.
You should check him out.
All right, I'll have to check him out, yeah.
He's got a few shorter things, too.
Okay.
He's given a lot of speeches at different, like, ceremonies and stuff.
Okay.
Like a natural
speeches and stuff.
Yeah, naturalization ceremony. He talked at one time, and he has a book. It's called The American Spirit. It's about 100 pages long.
Yeah.
I think it was a pretty good starter book for me.
Yeah.
Because that's the first book of his I read.
Gotcha.
And it's low commitment, but it's really good. It gives you a sense for his writing style, and then if you enjoy that, you can.
I'll have to check that.
He's a great American. He was a great American writer. He passed a few years ago. He won the Presidential Medal of Freedom, different stuff like that.
So multiple Pulitzer Prizes.
Yeah.
So
that's where I've heard the name.
If you like history, then most definitely check him out.
We have another question. It's kind of similar. Who's your favorite founding father?
Who is my favorite founding father? Mm-hmm. I mean, can you go with anybody besides George Washington because he's the original, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm not really the original, but he's number one president,
Most
right?
important, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, as a history teacher, I was always fascinated with the early presidents.
Yeah, me too.
More so than the later guys. Not that the later presidents, like, they obviously all have tremendous impact, right? Good or bad, right? But those early guys, like, I was always fascinated with because, like, they're figuring this thing out.
Right.
And they're...
It's the experiment.
And they're in their mid-20s. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're not, you know what I mean? Mid-20s, 30s. Like, yeah.
They're 20s and 30s. They were...
Yeah.
People today, so they don't want to have children that early because they're not ready for it, and they were
founding a country. Yeah.
Some already had like 6 or 7 children at the time, too.
It's amazing, and I think we, you know, I say we because it is us collectively. Like, we forget that sometimes as a country, you know, just, I mean, they were committing treason.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? To start a new country, like, that's what they were doing. They could have
died.
You know? Yeah.
Have you watched the John Adams miniseries on HBO?
I've seen bits and pieces of it. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's one of my favorite TV shows. And you should definitely check that out. But it really highlights that. They were all really young.
Yeah.
A lot of them didn't like each other.
No.
At all. They didn't realize. But people mistakenly put them in granite. They're infallible.
Sure.
They were not. They were real people, and I think that's what makes it so interesting. Mm-hmm. Just like us, but just on a different time.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. The early American history is very fascinating.
Yeah, I used to, when I was teaching it, used to always try to focus on that, right? Like, we know these names, we've got them, pictures everywhere, but at the end of the day, like, these guys used to get in bar fights after they were you know what I mean? Trying to write the Declaration and trying to write the Constitution. It's like, they would go fight each other, and then come back the next day and try to figure it out, you know? Like,
George Washington would write to Martha and say, I can't do this.
Yeah, they didn't.
I think he said they picked the wrong man for the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
now looking back, you know what I mean? Yes. Yeah.
It is really interesting.
Yeah.
So you got a degree in history.
I did, yes, sir.
What was your plan for work? After that? I know you went and got your master's degree.
I did.
But after that point.
So my initial plan was to start out teaching high school history and be a basketball coach. Mm-hmm. And eventually, my goal, I wanted to coach in college. Mm-hmm. I wanted to coach basketball in college because I got the sports performance degree and was going to work my way back into college. But life changes, and you know, like, good Lord has different plans for us, and so that's not how my life worked out, and that's okay. Yeah.
What was your first job out of school?
First job out of school as a teacher, I got a job at Grayson County. Mm-hmm. And it would have been the fall of 2009. Ironically enough, Mr. Thompson was the principal at the middle school at the time. He hates for me to tell the story, but I'm going to tell it anyways. I interviewed for a job at the middle school, and he didn't hire me for that job. And so I got hired at Grayson County. Wow. In his defense, there was someone within the county who was already teaching that they had plans to move in that position, but I like to tell him he just didn't hire me. Yeah. So I went to Grayson County for 2 years, came back to Carroll in 2011, was in the classroom from 2011 to 2018 in Carroll, and got my first administrative job in the fall of 2018 at Hillsville Elementary.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
I was there for a semester and then came back here and have been here ever since. So,
having an administrative job requires a master's degree in administration, school administration in your case probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When did you decide to go back to school and get that? And that's from Radford?
Yeah, I got that one from Radford. I guess it would have been 2015 when I decided to start. It's a 2-year program. Right. So I guess it would have been the fall of 2000. Let's see. No, maybe the fall of 2016. Which was a good decision looking back on. I love being an administrator. Yeah. Every day is different. It was hard at the time. I had my wife and I, we had 2 kids under 5 at the time when I decided to go back to school.
It's a challenge.
It was not easy. No. Luckily, it was an online program, so I didn't have to leave. I could take classes at home. You know, we did have asynchronous sessions or synchronous sessions where I had to log in at a specific time, but I was able to be at home and take those classes.
I'm sure that's a big help. I interviewed a few different people that went back to and got their masters.
Miss Ogle's one of them.
Miss Ogle.
Yeah.
While they had children.
Yeah.
And had to go to campus.
Yeah.
Some to Blacksburg sometimes. And drive and commute, and that must have been really, really hard.
Oh, it would have been. Yeah, I probably couldn't have done it at that time, and in my career and in our marriage, like where we were at the time, I probably just couldn't have done it.
Did you go back because you had an eye on an administration role, or did you just do it because it might come in the future and you just want to be ready?
No, at that point I had decided, while I love teaching, I didn't love the monotony of teaching. Yeah. Right? Teaching history, although I loved the subject, it was hard to do the same thing 3 times a day. Yeah. Teach the same lesson 3 times a day. Because I was a U.S. history teacher, and it wasn't like I was doing a section of government or a section of world history. It was U.S. history 3 times a day. Yeah. And that got hard. Yeah. And so, my wife and I talked about it and prayed about it and decided that, I was going to go back, get my administrative degree. Had the help of some good people here in the building to kind of push me in that direction also. And it worked out that as I was finishing up my administrative degree, a job opened up at Hillsville Elementary, and the timing just worked out. Yeah. I got lucky. Honestly, I got lucky that it worked out the way that it did.
From my understanding, it's kind of rare for people with administrative degrees to land an administrative role exactly after graduating.
It is.
So
yeah, and that's what I mean. I got extremely lucky that the timing just worked out.
Yeah. You mentioned your wife. How did you meet?
Yeah. We went to high school together.
Okay. Yeah.
We graduated together. We did not date in high school. We were friends. We ran in the same group. We had the same group of friends and all that stuff, but we didn't. She started her undergraduate at Campbell University. Okay. Went to Campbell for a semester and then came back to the area and came to New River, and I happened to be at New River, and our paths just kind of crossed one day, and we went to get lunch one day, like in between classes, and started hanging out, and here we are.
And did she go to Tech as well?
She went to Radford. After going to New River, she went to Radford. Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
You y'all dated throughout that time while you were at Radford, and she was at Radford and you were at Tech, or did you get married?
Yes, we got married. Yeah, we dated the time throughout when I was at Tech and she was at Radford. We got married in June of 2009, and I started teaching in August. Mm-hmm. Now she started teaching a year before I did, I think. Okay. At Hillsville Elementary. So
is that where she is now?
She's at the middle school now. Okay. She started at Hillsville Elementary, was there for a couple years, went to Glayville Elementary for a few years, and has been at the middle school for I think 8 years now, something like that. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I guess that was a big life-changing period for you. Those few months.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's exciting though.
Yeah, it was a fun time. You graduate college, you get your first real job, right? You get married, you start building a life, together. It's challenging, but also exciting at the same time. It was fun at the time. I say it was fun at the time. I was not only teaching, she was teaching. I was coaching basketball. I was mowing yards on the side. Yeah. I say it was fun, but you also do what you got to do to get by, right? You pay your bills right out of college. So,
do you remember your first day of school as a teacher?
Yeah, I was terrified. Yeah. I was 23 years old, and my first block of my first day, I had seniors. So I was 23 years old in front of a classroom full of 18-year-olds, and that was terrifying. Because at that point, Like, we're the same. Right. You know, I've been to college, but we're the same. Like, you get to a certain point in life, and 3 or 4 years is nothing. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're the same person. Yeah. High school, it's a big deal, but, you know, when you get out, so that was terrifying. And so I went from seniors first block, and then second block I had 8th graders. And I taught geography to 8th graders. Mm-hmm. And then I had a block of world history, which was 10th graders at the time. So it was definitely a challenge.
So did you move schools each block? How did that
work? So where I was at Grayson, they had They had trailers at the time.
Uh-huh. Was having seniors, did you end up liking having seniors, or did you?
Eventually, yeah. Once we kind of established ground rules.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I was close to their age, but I'm also, you know, I'm their teacher.
Right.
Yeah. Right? Once we drew those lines, it was fun. Mm-hmm. We had a good time. Yeah.
Was it different towards the end of the year, teaching seniors?
Yeah. Y'all are seniors?
Yeah.
Of course it was different. Yeah, you're a senior. Sorry. Yeah. Of course it was different.
A lot of my classes, they were online, so I haven't really got to see that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Where I'm thinking the dual enrollment courses, and those classes they're pretty diligent up until the end.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to buckle down until the last few days. But can you talk about your experience?
Oh man, you come back from like Easter break and seniors are done.
Yeah.
You know, like, at that point they're looking at graduation. Yeah. And it is a challenge as a teacher to keep everyone focused, and you know, we've still got stuff to do, and you know, especially seniors, like you don't have SOL tests at the time. You know, at that point, you know, it's trying to keep focused on the end goal, which is walking across the stage and you know, all that stuff. So
keep them passing.
yeah, keep your grades up. So
absolutely.
Miss Taylor jokes that after prom here at the high school, students kind of check out.
Yeah, she's not wrong. Yeah,
I can kind of feel it myself, and I'm sure Luke does too.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any way to mitigate that?
No, I don't think so. I think everybody's so excited about prom, and everybody builds it up, and everybody looks forward to it. Yeah. Most everybody looks forward to it, I guess. Yeah, hopefully everybody's looking forward to it. It's a good. It's like one of those rite of passage things, right, that you do in high school. But I think everybody builds up so much excitement to it that when it's over, it's like, all right, well, let's graduate. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we're done. Let's go. So, yep.
We've talked to several teachers, and they've said that their favorite group to teach is seniors. Would you agree?
Yeah, I enjoyed having upperclassmen when I was teaching because I felt like I could have more life conversations with a senior, you know, more advice, whether it's life advice, career advice, and I enjoy that. I mean, even in my role today, the best part of my job is getting to sit down with students who want to know about careers, or you know what I mean, want to know about colleges, or just looking for just a different opinion or something like that. I enjoy that. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first day as an administrator?
I do. Yeah.
Walk us through that day.
Well, it was in elementary school, so I was a rock star. Yeah, and when you're in elementary school, those kids come up to you, they hug you, they high five you, like they're excited to see you. So the first day of elementary school, you're a rock star. You know, first day of high school is not that. Mm-hmm. You get grunted at a lot, like when you say good morning. So you know, but I love being a high school administrator. I enjoyed the elementary school, and I loved little kids, but I love my own little kids. Mm-hmm. I wasn't cut out for 550 little kids. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, especially Hillsville, because that's a huge school.
It's a big school. It's a really big school. And it was a challenging job even as the assistant. So, but yeah.
That's cool. Something I noticed, we know that you're a spiritual man. You were a Mason ring.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's a great, so what I can tell you about the Masonic organization, it is a great organization. Yeah. It does a lot of good.
Yeah. And we've had some interactions with them.
Yeah.
We went to the Fiddlers Convention. We talked to a lot of them.
Yeah, sure.
We interviewed some, and they were passing out pamphlets and stuff.
Sure. Yeah. No, so my grandpa was a Mason. Mm-hmm. My dad's a Mason. My uncle's a Mason. My cousin's a Mason. A lot of my best friends are Masons. Yeah. It's a great organization.
I have a lot of family that's in it. One of my cousins is a Knights Templar on the Masons.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he's really, really into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's an organization that you know does a lot of good, but you don't always hear a lot about in the news. Mm-hmm. And I was just kind of curious, you know.
It's a lot of unsung things that we do.
Right.
You know, not looking for spotlight. Just look to make society better, and be good men, and for our families and for our places of work, and that's really what what the goal is not looking for any kind of praise or spotlight or anything like that. So
of course,
yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
So the role of an administrator.
Yes, sir.
Can you talk about that?
Sure. What do you want to know?
Experiences with the ups and downs of being an administrator.
Some of it has to be wonderful. You see kids succeed, but other times you got to be a disciplinarian, and that can be hard, I bet.
Yeah, I am not by nature, like I'm not a mean person.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And for me, that's the hardest part of this job.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you have to be. It's just
how it is.
Yeah. I mean, I knew it when I signed up for it, and that's not, that's not what I mean. That's not a old pitiful me. It's just not who I am by nature, and so that part was hard for me,
right.
especially starting out. I think administration is like anything else. It's a calling.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely has its ups and downs. Seeing students succeed is why anybody who's in education, that's why we're in education, right? Seeing you guys come in as scared freshmen, right? Not knowing what's happening, not knowing where your classes are, to seeing, like you two guys, for example, right? Like you getting ready to go to tech, and you've got plans, and y'all got this podcast, and you've got these plans, and you're doing great things like that. To me, that's why I do what I do,
Yeah.
But it definitely has ups and downs, and good days and bad days, and days I don't want to come back, and like
It's got to roll with the punches.
That's what they say about every job. There's days. That
Yeah,
you
sure.
want to do it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely.
absolutely.
Sure.
But it's a challenging job. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't challenging. We've got 1,100 students and 120 staff. And while we've been sitting here, my phone's rang several times, and this phone just got done ringing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's not just while we're at school. That's the hard part about it. Yeah.
Do you ever miss the classroom?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes. But the part, like I said earlier, like I don't miss the monotony of it. I enjoy administration because every day is different.
Yeah.
Like tomorrow will be different than today was. May have some of the same issues going on, but the day itself will be different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you think having that experience as a teacher has made you a better administrator?
Yeah, I think I have a better understanding of what teachers are going through in the classroom. Curriculum-wise, instruction-wise, dealing with student behavior-wise. I think it helps to be in a classroom before being an administrator. It's not the only way, obviously, right? You don't have to be a teacher before being an administrator. But I do think it gives you a different insight into things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this time must be more stressful for you too, because graduation is Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's more hectic around this time of year as well.
Yeah, I joke. My wife and I joke. The last 2 weeks of school, we pretty much pass each other in the morning and the evening.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's, because not only do we have all the senior events going on, but spring sports are going on. So you've got something almost every day. Yeah. Then you've got awards banquets, and you've got Golden Cavaliers, and and it's all great, and it's all. Golden Cavaliers is my favorite night of the year. It's so cool.
Special.
Yeah, it's so special. But it's
Stuff
70-hour weeks this time of year.
Yeah.
Which is not fun, but it's okay. That's what we do. It's all right. Absolutely. Yeah, it'd be worth it Saturday.
Yeah.
It'll be worth it. Yeah.
We've asked this question a few times with teachers and educators, but we've never got to ask an administrator.
Okay.
COVID.
Yeah.
That Friday, March 13th, we saw what it was like at the middle school.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. What was it like here?
So I was standing out there. Buses were getting ready to leave. And I can remember, I don't know who it was, but someone had Twitter pulled up. And they read the governor's tweet of, I think he said we're closing, effective immediately, closing schools for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we were like, what? What do you mean you're closing school for 2 weeks? And that afternoon, everything changed.
Yeah.
That afternoon, education changed completely. We went into administrative-wise, and if you've talked to teachers, like we went into triage almost.
Yeah.
Like we're coming back. We don't know how we're coming back, but we're coming back. So let's have a plan, and let's have several plans that we can present to our community and say, this is what we're going to do. And as you all know, we didn't get to come back. We went virtual, right? But going virtual had its own set of challenges, as you all know. Y'all lived it, student side of things.
That day was just crazy.
Oh, man.
I think the NBA shut down the night before.
Yeah.
And that's like always stuff that's starting to happen.
Sure.
That next day, it's like everything changed. And I signed up for Department of Education emails. And I got an email. That's when we could still have phones. And I got an email about 2:30.
Yeah.
And the teachers didn't know about it yet.
Right.
And I showed Miss Hyatt, and she showed all the teachers. Well, they let us out of the classrooms. And there's papers flying, and people were yelling and just trying to figure out who had internet and who didn't.
Yeah.
Chromebooks
Chromebooks.
to get them
Crazy, man.
And when she got home, it's like everything went quiet.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was
From
that point on, it was just totally different. I think 2 weeks later, that's when the governor came on and said the schools were going to be closed for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
March.
surreal. Yeah, it's like getting out of summer vacation for early March.
Yeah.
It was nuts. But it's really interesting how y'all handled that here.
And you were a fairly new administrator at the time, too.
I would have been I would have just finished my first full year as an administrator.
So that must have been really hard.
I was in year 2, which my first full year here, because I came here in January of 19, and we shut down in March of 20.
Yeah. So.
And we, you're talking all those end of year events we had to do different.
Yeah.
We had a drive-through graduation.
Yeah.
Like
at a certain point, I guess it's kind of cool because of the historical context.
Sure.
But I'm glad I get to experience
the real thing.
The real thing.
Yeah.
Sporting seasons, too. I know a lot of people who are just distraught that they lost their senior year.
Their senior year of whatever.
Right.
Sports. Yeah. Can't get it back.
Yeah. They're gone forever.
Yeah.
It was interesting at the time, and I know you're very interested in history, but the historical context of it, in global history, the whole world shutting down, it was just, I don't know, it was extremely, extremely interesting.
And I still don't think we know, like, how it's actually, like, the extent of how things have changed, because we're just kind of going, you know what I mean? Like, now we just take it as it comes. Like, whatever change is coming, we're going to roll with it. But I think in education we have a different perspective, because it literally changed how we do our jobs.
Yes.
Yeah. In the business world, you work from home.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people work from home, and that's fine.
That increased a little bit.
In education, it changed how we deliver education. Like, how we do what we do changed that day.
Yeah, Mr. Montgomery talked about how before COVID he didn't trust YouTube or anything online, and now he uses it more than paper stuff.
Yeah, you had no choice.
Right.
It was interesting those first 2 weeks. I think later on, the nation as a whole kind of devolved into
chaos.
Chaos. The first 2 weeks, we saw people really step up and do what they had to do. And in education, that lasted throughout the duration of the whole event. The bus drivers, that was incredible to me. They dropped books off at the house from the teachers, so I was getting homework delivered from the school bus, food.
Yep.
It was neat to see people step up in that situation, do what they had to do.
Absolutely, yeah. It took a lot of different people doing a lot of things that was out of their comfort zone, right? To pull off education during COVID.
In a time where we were so separated and kind of divided in some ways too, everyone really came together, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Looking back a little bit, how did being a teacher affect the way you parent, and how did being a parent affect the way you taught?
Ooh, that's good. I think being an administrator affected the way I parent more than anything. Being a teacher, yes. Being in a classroom, you have to deal with a lot of different personalities, right? You deal with students from different backgrounds, different economic backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds. And so you learn how to communicate. So as a teacher, you know that it's there, as an administrator, I've seen it. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so it makes you more aware, like as a parent, and want your children to be more aware, not of necessarily want them to be aware that students are going through things that sometimes you'll never know. Yeah. Right? And as a teacher, again, you know that that's there. And you guys, right? You know that it's there. Yeah. But it changes you when you see it. And you see a student who comes in here every day, smile on their face, says good morning, talks to you, and then you go to their house and, you know, there's holes in the wall, or there's holes in the floor, or there's, you know, it really changes you. And it gives you a different perspective on things. So I think being a teacher and being in education definitely changes you as a parent. And being a parent, being in education, it gives you patience, you know, understanding. Yeah. You know, I like to say I'm a good parent, you know. Not all kids have good parents. Yeah, absolutely. Right? And that's a sad reality of things. Yeah.
Can you touch on the importance of family to you?
Oh man, family's everything. Yeah. Yeah. Faith and family. Absolutely. That's why we do what we do. Mm-hmm. You know, when I was growing up, I lived within a half a mile of my grandparents, one set of grandparents, and my first cousins, and I can remember standing in the backyard of my house yelling at my cousin who lived a half a mile away, "What are you doing?" You know what I mean? Like, "Why are you outside? I'll be there in a minute," you know? So I just grew up with a tight-knit family and still focus on that with my kids and my wife, and just want to have that, want them to have that relationship with their family. Absolutely. You know? Yeah.
If your family's listening to this, your great grandkids or grandkids in 50 years, what would you like to tell them?
I would tell them to keep their faith when it's hard. It's easy to be faithful when things are good, but to keep their faith when life gets hard, because life's going to get hard. Mm-hmm. And to always remember where they came from. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Man, that was a good one. Gosh. Yeah. I wasn't expecting that question.
We have a few good questions.
Yeah, it's all been good. Yeah.
Thanks. Can you talk about Christ Chapel and how you got involved with it?
Because that's a very powerful force for Galax and Carroll both. Yeah. I'm sure from beyond.
Humbled and blessed to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. So my involvement with the church started not at Christ Chapel. So I mentioned to you guys that I was playing music in college and I've always played guitar and stuff. So one random weekday, my sister, who's 4 years younger than me, she's also a musician, and she was playing at a church here in town. And she said, "Hey, we're having this Sunday evening service, and I need somebody to come play guitar. Will you come play guitar?" And I was like, I don't want to do that. Yeah. And then the good Lord had other plans, and so I showed up that Sunday evening, and that was the first time I led worship at a church, and that was when my journey as a worship leader started. And so I spent. There was a church uptown here called Out of the Box. It was a Methodist church at the time.
Ronnie read it.
Yeah. I was the worship leader there, full-time worship leader there for 8 years, every Sunday, and came to the end of that season, stepped down from being a worship leader, and took a break for a little while, and then my family and I started going to Christ Chapel, and just it's home. My kids asked to go to church, which is. Like, I don't think as a kid, I mean, I grew up in church, but I don't think I ever asked to go to church, you know? Like, if we don't go to church, they're mad, you know? And that's really cool. Yeah. And so I got involved helping Chad and the team there and blessed to be a part of it. I mean, it's pretty humbling to see what God's doing at Christ Chapel and in our community through that church. I mean,
I know a lot of students here are a part of that.
A lot of students, and I one of the absolute coolest things as a worship leader is to be leading worship and look out and see a student.
Right.
You know, like that's a that's a different kind of connection.
Yeah.
When you're there together, right? I think a lot of students, and it's just the nature of my job, right? They see me as an administrator, you know, not as a dad and a musician and I coach basketball. You know what I mean? They don't know that side of me, so it's really cool to be able to connect on that level.
Miss Oakle talked about that a little bit when she sees students out in town. They're shocked to see her.
Yeah. Like, why are you at Walmart? Well, I need groceries too. You know, like.
So it's like, I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned funny. Basketball too, and you said that you started coaching basketball your first year teaching.
I did. Yeah.
What led you? Did coaching lead you to choose a career in teaching and education? Because we've talked to some teachers and they started teaching just so that they could coach.
Yeah. I'd be lying if I told you that wasn't why I got into teaching.
Yeah, because you mentioned you want to be a college
I wanted to coach. Yeah, I wanted to coach in college. So when I started at Grayson, I was a volunteer coach for the boys basketball team there. When I came to Carroll, I was the head JV coach and varsity assistant coach. Did that for several years. We were lucky enough to be pretty successful. Made it to the state tournament, won the region championship. Took a break for a couple years, came back for a couple years. And now I'm coaching both of my daughters play AAU basketball. Right. So I'm coaching them playing AAU basketball.
That's a busy schedule too.
We play a lot of basketball, but we love it. They love it, so I love it. That's something we can share together. So we enjoy it.
Do you miss coaching?
Yeah, I think that's why I'm doing other than coaching my kids.
For the school system.
Yeah, I don't miss being gone from my family.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the appeal of the AAU and coaching them. I'm there anyways, so we get to do it together. Yeah. I don't miss being gone from my family coaching. I do miss the competitive, and I it kind of goes back to the teaching. Like, I love teaching. Right. And history and basketball are two things I feel like I can teach. You know, and so I get to do that coaching. I do miss that part of it. So yeah.
Well, as we're wrapping up here, we always have a few questions we ask.
Okay.
Ethan, what's your start?
Yeah. What advice do you have for someone considering a career in education? It could be as a teacher or as an administrator.
Considering a career or starting their career?
Both, sure.
Starting your career, don't quit.
Don't quit, yeah.
First year's going to be hard. First couple years are going to be miserable. Yeah. It just is what it is. But once you get out of those first couple years, I don't know that there can be much more rewarding of a profession than being education. You have a chance to impact countless lives in a positive way. Yeah. And we need that.
You touch 1,000 every day just by being here.
We need that. Yeah, we need that. So don't quit. Yeah. That would be my advice.
I have another question.
Sure.
Who's your best friend?
My wife.
Your wife?
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Can you touch on the importance of community, especially a small one like Carroll? Because in this high school, you have a large part of the future of Carroll County. Can you talk about that responsibility and why you think it's important?
I think a community helps shape who you are. And so coming back and giving that community, I don't want to say we owe it to our community, but we kind of do. Yeah. Right? To create a better place for our future families, right? Hillsville's a great place. Carroll County's a great place. Southwest Virginia, if you're not from Southwest Virginia, you might stump your nose at it, right? But I mean, it's a great place to be. Yeah. Overall, obviously it's got its issues. Everywhere's got its issues, but it's a great place to be. But community, and you all have experienced it here at the school, the way the community can come around the school and kind of pick us up and help us and support us. And, Saturday there'll be 4,000 people, 4,500 people, and hopefully, if it's not raining, on the football field, for graduation. communities, it's a big deal. I mean, small towns parades and small town fireworks. I mean, it's
like
just
one in an hour or so.
Yeah, exactly. It's just really cool.
It's not big, but there's a beauty about it. There really is.
Absolutely.
And I know you're interested in history. John Adams and the rest of the founding fathers really highlighted posterity in most of their writings. And I don't think you see that as much today, but it is still there, and that is very important. And that kind of leads me to my next question. What is your advice to young people making their way in the world?
Don't be afraid to work hard. Save what you can. It's really easy to get a paycheck, your first real paycheck, and go buy some cool stuff. But I think as much as anything, like good days and bad days, you work hard. Because if you work hard, you're going to pass the other people. Right? You're going to be successful. Because not everybody's going to work hard. People want the easy way out. You all see it. You all experience it, right? People want the easy way out. But if you will work hard, and you will work hard day after day, then good things are going to happen. It's inevitable. Good things are going to happen. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Final question. Some may consider it a bit of a cliche, but that is, what is the meaning of life to you?
What is the meaning of life?
Yeah. And you've touched on it throughout the episode, but we like to ask it directly.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that the good Lord put us all here for a reason. And for me, my purpose is, at this point, right? My purpose is to try to have a positive impact on as many people, many young lives as I can. And faith and family. Faith, family, and leave this place better than it was when I got here, I hope. And I say this place, not just Carroll County High School, just here. Our community.
Yes. I'm confident saying that you've achieved that so far.
I would like to say that I have. I'm sure there's some people you can ask in my current position that would disagree with you, but that's something. I tell my kids this too. You be better today than you were yesterday. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to set the world on fire every day, right? But be better today than you were yesterday, even if it's the smallest of things. So. Yes.
Well, Mr. Holderfield, it's an honor to speak with you this evening.
I appreciate it, guys. This was a joy. I appreciate you guys having me. It was fun to sit down and talk about some things and get to know each other a little bit better.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I've been looking forward to it.
Thanks, guys.